I'm certain is we're supposed to not start before 5 o'clock, so that's why we're waiting. But at this time, I'd like to call the board meeting to order and ask Mrs. Bass to please call the roll.
District 1, Barbara McQuinn. Here. District 2, Chuck Shaw.
Here.
District 3, Karen Brill. Here. District 4, Erica Whitfield. Here. District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
Here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This month we have no proclamations noted on the consent agenda, and we have a very special young lady, Veronica Washington, who is a student at Park Vista High School, who will be leading us in the national anthem. So after we do the national anthem, please remain standing. Mr. Mike Burke will be leading us in the pledge tonight.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the Rockies red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Mr. Burke. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is a review of the minutes. We have 13 sets of minutes. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, second by Mrs. Brill. Any discussion on any? If not, we'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We have one item that was, or two items added, P3 and P4, and items to be withdrawn. Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, we will be pulling BCS 2 and pulling BCS 8, PC 9. And I need to make a statement in reference to why we're pulling these two items. I am extremely frustrated over the necessity to pull these two items. Unfortunately, the EdPlant survey we submitted to DOE in January has been stuck in DOE bureaucracy, and they have yet to approve 3 new schools and portables at Crystal McCullough Middle School. We made a promise to the taxpayers of this community to deliver sales tax projects on time and on budget. And this delay is a significant threat to us being able to keep those promises, particularly where our timelines are concerned. We've been very diligent on ramping up for these new schools. We have a runway of contracts and contracts ready to go, and they have come to a complete halt with this meeting because DOE has been unable to give us a yes in 6 months.
All right, Mr. Barbieri had a comment on this too.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shaw. I'm frustrated too because 05C was a brand new school to be built on land that was donated to the school district by the city of Boca Raton. Millions of dollars in land that was given to us for free to build a brand new school in the area of the county where all of the schools are over capacity. And, and now DOE wants to send a team down here to investigate our bus routes to make sure that it's feasible to move kids from the south end of the county up to schools in the central part of the county on buses. I mean, they're showing that there's thousands of seats available throughout the county. I don't know how they expect us to move children from the south end of the county on buses and get them up in the central part of the county to schools that have classroom space. During rush hour traffic in the morning, it's going to take hours. It's very frustrating. We started this process in January. The city is extremely upset about it. The city council is working hard with their lobbyists in Tallahassee. It's ridiculous that the DOE is holding us up on this, and I'm concerned about Addison Meisner Elementary School. I mean, Addison Meisner is being rebuilt with the idea that we'll move the children out of that school into the new 05C for a year or year and a half until we get until we have a place to put them back in Addison Meisner, because there's no room in the Addison Meisner property to build a school at the same time, apparently. So and that holds up another school in the district. So we have that school. We designed Verde Elementary School with the idea that we weren't going to put Addison Meisner students there, so that design is moving forward. So now it's kind of screwing up the deal on that school. So I just don't understand it. I know there's a state representative here tonight that's going to speak to us, and I hope he takes back to Tallahassee the frustration. We need new schools. We're busting at the seams because everybody wants to come. We're the top performing urban district in the state. People want to come to our schools, and yet we have no classroom space. And the DOE is dragging their feet for over 6 months on approving new schools that we need in areas of the county where we're over capacity. So it's very frustrating, and I thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for bringing that to the attention of the board also.
Thank you, Mrs. Brill.
Thank you, and I'm going to chime in as well. As you know, we represent, even though you vote by district, we represent everyone, and I do support what Mr. Barbieri said about Boca, but the biggest hit to this is actually in District 3, where the new middle school's being held up and where they're questioning the move of portables to Krista McAuliffe to accommodate all of the students that are moving there, and also the school which is in Ms. Andrews' district, which is the new high school, O, which will be serving both of our districts. So now that I'm aware of this, I will be looking to get COBRA involved. I think we need to get as many groups that are politically connected involved, because the Department of Education doesn't understand the way our schools are laid out. And it's not just going north to south, Mr. Barbieri. It's very hard, as those of us that live out west know, to go from west to east in the morning. What is normally maybe a 5 to 10 mile span of land could take you over an hour. And if they come down during the summer, my district is comprised of 55 plus communities, a lot of them. We're split between the young communities and the older communities. If they come down in the summertime, they're not going to see that traffic because they're all snowbirds and snowflakes. So, you know, we have a problem, and I do hope that our representative does get together with us and try and help us through this problem. Thank you.
Mrs. Andrews.
And thank you. I did talk to Mrs. Paul on yesterday. When we built the 3 schools in the Glades, we had a little bit of pushback from the Department of Education, but our legislators stepped up to the plate. And I know Representative Will Hite is in here tonight, but all of our legislators stepped up to the plate, and we were able to move the process to get those schools built. So we're asking everybody, when you look at the crowded situation of our high schools, and the western community is growing just by leaps and bounds, we can't afford to hold anything up. So we're asking everybody to come forth and help us out to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have those items withdrawn. Next item is the consent agenda items to be pulled right now. We have 4, FMP A1, FMP F1, SSEA 9, SSEA 12. Are there any other items the board would like to pull? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as modified? Motion by Mrs. Andrews, second by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Are there any disclosures or abstentions that anybody has tonight? Superintendent comments and board member comments.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I just want to applaud the board for being deliberate in your leadership and teamwork as we work through some really challenging issues, many of which have landed on tonight's agenda in some form or another. When I speak to my colleagues across the state, they're all struggling with some of the new realities pushed onto the districts, especially the lack of funding to meet the demand of state mandates and the lack of professionals to fill the gap for police officers, school counselors, social workers, and school psychologists. I have always known that school systems are frequently at the whim of a heavily political and bureaucratic system. But as of late, the bureaucracy we call the Florida legislature and the Department of Education seem to be forgetting that the decisions they are making in the Panhandle have real repercussions at the local level. With all of that said, we're public school professionals. And if one thing we are good at is getting things done, despite the whitewater we have to navigate to do so. It's a long runway until school starts. It's going to be a very busy summer. And when the kids come to us, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be ready. Thank you.
All right, board member comments. We'll start with Mrs. McQuinn and work this way. Mrs. McQuinn. None tonight. Ms. Whitfield.
I have a pile of them, so thank you. So first I wanted to talk quickly kind of about the place we are in this year right now. We have just come to the end of one school year and heading into the next. The first thing I'd like to recognize from last school year was the graduation ceremonies. They were amazing. We had a really great time, wonderful, beautiful ceremonies as always, and I wanted to take a quick second again to thank Eric Stern for his work surrounding our graduations, and Captain Mikowski and Claudia Shea for all their work with their departments, and all of the many people who helped to make sure that graduations happen. So thank you so much. And I see Captain Mikowski hiding back there. Thank you. Second, I wanted to mention Ernie Camerino and the retirement party. We just have retired quite a few amazing teachers, and I really did have such a wonderful time at the party that we had, which was a breakfast party, but for some reason I still ended up doing the electric slide with a lot of teachers, and it was a lot of fun. Miss Andrews and Miss Brill were also there with me, and we had a really wonderful time. I really did have a lot of fun, and I wanted to say congratulations to those staff members that were there that we were able to recognize. Finally, the FSA scores came out just a couple days ago, and those were amazing for Palm Beach County. I wanted to say a huge congratulations to all of the teachers, staff members, administration, all the people in this room who do such an amazing job that really make this district #1 in the state. It's just filled my heart with joy to see so many of our schools that were able to accomplish really great things, and I just wanted to say congratulations to them. And for everyone out there, you can contact your principals and see how your children did if you'd like to. The next thing I'd like to mention is two of the things that we're going to be doing tonight that I think are very important for the future of this district. The first is I'd like to just give my personal welcome to Chief Kitsero, who will be pending the board approval tonight, leading our new, our expanded police department. I think he is going to do a wonderful job, and I'm very, very excited to have him. Also, I'd like to say a quick thank you to Chief Larry Leon, who has served us for many years and done a really wonderful job with our students and made it so that, we haven't ever had a really big incident in the school district, and I really want to thank him for all of his service. Finally, with my last 29 seconds, I want to quickly mention the mental health plan that is on the agenda tonight, and I know Dr. Robinson has pulled it, so we'll have some more discussion on this, but I think this is a really important step forward for the district. I think it's something where you are going to see through this plan where we are really drawing in all of the community resources that are out there and available for us, and the community that's going to come together to help support children and to work towards the mental health of our students is so important. I really want to thank staff who put together that comprehensive plan. I think it's great ideas that are in there, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing it enacted in this new school year. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mrs. Brill.
Thank you. So what Mrs. Whitfield didn't tell you is that we did the chicken dance together at the retirement party. So yes, it was a wonderful event. And I will start off by welcoming my fabulous high school, Park Vista Community High School, which is being recognized as the only school with ramp certification, which you will all hear about later. Go Cobras. So yes. This has been a very unusual school year, beginning with the hurricanes and then the sudden resignation of our superintendent, followed by the tragedy that struck so close to home in Parkland. The massacre in Parkland was the proverbial straw that broke the nation's back. It gave birth to outrage and activism. Our hearts broke, and we all became Parkland, Stoneman, MSD strong. The shooting next in Texas made our commitment to ending the violence in our schools even stronger. The world has changed, and so we too must change, and school security is going to be looked at differently. But for now, summer is here. So my message tonight is to enjoy your families, take time together, relax, kick back. For those of you with young children, trust me, blink your eyes and they will be grown up before you know it. So have fun, be safe, do things you wouldn't normally have the time for, and we will see you next month ready to prepare for another fabulous school year in Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Andrews.
And thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. Wow, it's summer. Hopefully, all of you sitting in here are finding some time to relax and have a happy summer. I can tell you that I had a fun time this past Saturday. And sometimes we don't see the bus drivers or the transportation department only when we see our buses rolling down the street, taking our children back and forth to school. I get a chance to visit the facilities, and I see the maintenance and the mechanics working to keep our buses up. And I get a chance to talk to the bus attendants and the aides when I visit the facilities. But guess what? We had a happy summer celebration on Saturday. The Transportation Department of the School District of Palm Beach County truly celebrated at John Prince Park. And what a happy summer celebration it was. All of the drivers were there, the mechanics, the driving assistants, the secretaries, the administrators. But what was so exciting to me is I saw the husbands, the wives of our employees, the children, their little babies. Everybody was out there at John Prince Park. And guess what? The food, the fun, the games, the dancing. You're talking about the electric slide, Miss Brill. I was out there doing all kinds of dancing with the bus drivers. What a beautiful day. It was hot out there, but I can tell you we made it happen. All the children had so many fun activities. I thank the children from Boca Raton High School, Mr. Barbieri. The junior ROTC was out there planning the games and the fun activities. Dr. Jeff McKee was the MC. He says, get up, Miss Andrews, and get it done out here. And we danced. We had a lot of fun. Miss Paul was out there on the volleyball court. And you saw the South County people. They have their connections. The Central, the West Central, the North, the East. Everybody was out there and their families. And it was such a good time to say thank you. Thank you for what you do every single day and taking our children to school, transporting them backwards and forwards. It's what it's all about. And yes, I had just returned from Tampa at the Florida School Boards Association, and we had a lot of learning, we had a lot of staff development, and a lot of it focused on safety, mental health, and working together, and really working and embracing Broward County for all of the things that they had gone through. But I was able to get right to that picnic on Saturday and have a good time with transportation. So thank you, Transportation Department. Go summer. What a happy summer I know you had starting out with the picnic. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barbieri.
Mr. Shaw, I can't compete with that. I'll pass.
Dr. Robinson.
Yeah, I wasn't dancing either, Mr. Barbieri. But so, as you may or may not know, every month I give a Black History fact. So I have several put together in this one little series of comments. First, I want to acknowledge that the founding chief of the School Police of Palm Beach County School District is present. Chief McKenzie, would you stand and give us a wave?
Here.
So it turns out he hired Jim Kelly, just for those of you who want to make note of that. But anyway, okay. So this week was the 24th Annual African and African American Summer Institute, a forum to teach and share in order that we in Palm Beach County schools might one day live up to the unfunded law that states that we must teach the contributions of Africans and African Americans in all subjects. The presentations were outstanding, and they educated and inspired many that are working toward equity. So as it happened, the Summer Institute was housed at Palm Beach Lakes High School this year. And as you may know, Palm Beach Lakes High this past year had every freshman take African and African American history as an elective. This as a intentional effort to counter the miseducation that is part of our formal education system. Now, I don't want to jinx them, but it appears that their school grade increased the letter grade this year, and I'm certain that that has to do with students and adults raising their expectations after learning the greatness of the history of these young people. So, and we know that students live up to expectations, right? Yesterday was also Juneteenth. Juneteenth does not commemorate the signing of the 1863 Emancipation Proclamation, nor does Juneteenth celebrate the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which ended slavery except as a consequence of incarceration. Instead, Juneteenth commemorates June 19, 1865, when Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with General Order No. 3, officially freeing the captured and enslaved Africans and letting them know of the end to their formal incarceration. So to my knowledge, Juneteenth is the only holiday that commemorates the end to the official enslavement of African peoples in these United States. It ended the forced separation of families by the government, until recent days. So I would not read the proclamation from the Council of Great City Schools, but I am very pleased that my colleagues at an earlier portion of this meeting agreed that we will write a resolution, and I will use the words condemning the government's actions separating children from their families. It's a shame that things happen the same way again. It's like if you don't speak up when you see wrong happening, it's going to happen to you. So we must stand together and shout out when things that are inappropriate and wrong are occurring. So I know the button's going to ding in just a second, but let me just say that my request is threefold. One, that we ensure that Juneteenth is part of the district's annual list of holidays. Two, that Juneteenth is part of the infusion of my story into the curriculum. And three, well, the board has already agreed that we create a statement or proclamation regarding the ongoing, recently ended, apparently, horror of forced separation of children from their parents. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. That concludes our comments, and as Mr. Barbieri said, I don't have anything to add. So our next item are our presentations, and it's my pleasure